Hey guys, what's going on? It's a Duck Under with Austin Pettigrew, and today we're going to talk some NCAA Championship weight class review, the last weight class, the 285 weight class, the heavyweight. So let's get right into it. The storylines will start with the main one here, which is who's going to win the triad rivalry in this division. If you know what the triad rivalry in this division was, it was Derek White, Gable Stevenson, and Anthony Cassar. And all of them before this tournament had beaten each other in the circle of these. So, beginning of the year, in the Minnesota versus Oklahoma State duel, Gable beat Derek. Then at the Surf Scuffle, Derek beat Anthony in the championship finals. And then at Big Ten finals, Anthony beat Gable. So they went into it. They took out Gable completely in the seedings. He was third, but whenever they did who was going to be number one, they just chose between Derek and Anthony. So since Derek had beaten him previously, Derek got number one, Anthony got number two. And this became the rivalry for this. Anthony and Gable were on the same side again. So who's going to win that match? And, will Derek make it? Who's going to win this rivalry? In the end, Anthony Cassar won it. So there you have it. But that was the rivalry going through, with these three guys who at least all beating each other once in the circle. And, it came down to this rivalry. Who's going to be matched up with Gable? If so, was Gable going to win or was he going to lose? So, that was one of the storylines. Who's going to win this triad rivalry between Derek White, Gable Stevenson, and Anthony Cassar? The next storyline, this is more of a joke, more than anything, but will Sam Stoll's knee hold up? For reasons you don't know, Sam Stoll was the number one pre-seed where everything began, but he'd been going through some injury problems, so there was that. And he dropped a lot in his rankings. He didn't even get on the podium, I think, at Big Tens. So one of the main things was Sam Stoll's knee could hold up. How hurt was he? Could he make an impact on the championships at all this year? Or was he just going to be a kind of a floundering and just ride it out his final year? The next one, this is kind of an observation more than anything, but are we seeing an evolution at heavyweight? Back in the day, you used to see these big, bulking, not really fat guys, but big, tall, close to making weight. You have to cut weight to make it. And we kind of noticed over here past few years with Kyle Snyder coming up, whenever he wasn't even a heavyweight, he was a natural. He could probably have made 197, but I know he could have made 197. But, are we seeing this new evolution of heavyweight, bringing these 197-pounders up and making them into heavyweights like Derek White, Anthony Cassar? That's two great examples of this. And they were both in the finals. So, is there that evolution starting there? Some more examples you could say. Kyle Snyder is an example from a few years ago. I think Adam Kuhn really is. Adam Kuhn isn't an example. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but he's a natural heavyweight. Kyle Snyder wasn't last year. Example of this, Gable Stevenson, that's a natural heavyweight. Anthony Cassar and Derek White, they're not natural heavyweights. They're dudes who bulked up to heavyweight so they could wrestle there. And both were pretty successful there. So I think we're going to start seeing this new evolution of heavyweight where we're going to see guys at the 197 kind of bulk up and be able to wrestle there. And you're going to see a lot more athletic heavyweights. I shouldn't say athletic. I should say more muscle than athletic, because Gable's athletic and he don't look as muscled as those two. But you're going to see this new evolution of heavyweight that's more athletic. And I would say smaller in a sense. You're not going to see a lot of guys who are reaching the weight limit are probably having to cut down to make weight. You're going to see these guys who can work out, do the protein shakes, do everything just to kind of build their muscle up and keep that weight while also staying flexible. So let's get into these All-American matches. So for the championship, you had Anthony Cassar of Penn State versus Derek White of Oklahoma State. Like I said in the storylines, Derek White had beaten Anthony Cassar with a slick duck under at third scuffle to win or get the lead at least. But, Derek White held that advantage over Anthony Cassar before going into NCAA weekends. And, if you look at their paths, Derek had the easier path. I'm not even going to lie here. I'm not going to try to defend Derek's path. But, whenever you look at the people he wrestled, and they're all good in their own right, but he faced Chase Singletary, who's going to be a young stud next year, I think. Then he faced Matt Stencil of Central Michigan. Then he faced Jordan Wood of Lehigh. Now, when you look at who Anthony Cassar faced, he faced Gable, Trent Hilger, and those two are, I think, are a lot tougher personally than Jordan Wood, Matt Stencil, and Chase Singletary as of right now. But, so yeah, Derek had the easier path, but what we saw from Anthony was amazing. He was able to beat Gable again. He beat a tough Trent Hilger. Trent Hilger's a tough boy. That dude will go out there and wrestle you for sure. But so in this match, it was going pretty even until we see Anthony Cassar take a freaking. He just sent Derek to his mat back instantly from the feet, and he got an easy 6 right there to kind of seal the match for himself. So you see that those back points really matter at times, and that's why those 6 points. I mean, they can be your dead killer, or they can be your best friend. And Anthony Cassar's face, they were his best friend. In this match, you have Derek White and Anthony. They're wrestling, both giving their best ever possible. Then Derek gets taken his back, and that's a game changer right there. Anthony ends up winning it 10-1 just because of those back points more than anything. But I mean, yeah, hats off. That 4 back points, 2 plus 4, that's a killer for heavyweight, especially having the game back all the ground. But hats off to Anthony Cassar, Jersey boy, and good job to Derek White. I mean, I thought he was going to win in all honesty, but not the way he wanted to. But he capped off a great senior career after even not All-American last year. Anthony Cassar, same thing. Anthony may be back next year to wrestle. He may not be. We'll find out soon and eventually, but you never know on these things. So, first was Anthony Cassar, second was Derek White. Moving on, third and fourth, you have Gable Stevenson versus Jordan Wood. Gable, the young stud, everyone thought was going to run through everyone. Then Anthony beat him at Big Tens, and that dropped him down to third. Then he had to wrestle Anthony again and lost. But Gable came back and ended up getting third in the third and fourth place match, which, I mean, it's something to scratch about. This was a good, tried rivalry, like I said, and Gable pretty much made easy work out Jordan Wood. He beat him 4-0, which was a dominating 4-0 win, not just one of those things where, it's just 4-0. But, good job to Jordan Wood, too. He had a tough consolation semifinals match against Amir Desi. Amir Desi was an All-American last year. One of the guys they fought would be highly ranked and possibly in the championship before you saw these 3 guys come about. And people thought, of course, Gable had been redshirted, too. But, yeah, I mean, good job to Gable. He won 4-0, pretty much dominated Jordan Wood the whole time. And Jordan Wood, he gave it his all, but Gable was just so much better than him in that match. So in that third and fourth place match, you have third Gable, fourth Jordan Wood, and I expect Gable to win it next year. I don't see, unless Anthony Cassar comes back, I don't see anyone even challenging Gable. That may be my own preference, and that may be what I see, but I mean, I honestly don't see anyone challenging Gable next year for a championship, unless Anthony Cassar comes back. That could be a very good possibility. And we're going to see. We're going to see sooner or later because we're going to see if he can get that 6th year. So moving on to the 5th and 6th place match, you have Amir Desi versus Yosef Hamida. So Amir Desi, he was again one of the top-ranked guys whenever he came back. And he's a good wrestler. He didn't get much match time, though, because he was off wrestling. I don't remember where for sure, but he was off wrestling somewhere else for the world teams. I think he was wrestling for Canada. I know that's where he's from. But so he went up against Joseph Amida, who's a tough dude from Maryland, and they made a match out of it for 5th place. So Amir went over Joseph 5-2, and this is the last time we'll be seeing both of them. So in this match, Amir controlled at his pace. He didn't let Joseph get any of his styles in, and Amir was able to control the pace, control what he wants to do. And Joseph really couldn't counter anything to it. And, this is kind of good for Maryland to see them have an All-American before their coach leaves and they're in the hunt for a new coach. But, we'll see Amir. We see Amir win this one for Oregon State and get them another All-American in the book. So in this one, you have Amir Desi 5th, Joseph Amida 6th. For the 7th and 8th place match, you have Matt Stencil of Central Michigan versus Trent Hilger. And Trent Hilger had a great season this year. Came in as the number 7 seed. He did lose this match, so under Bono for his first year, I would say he made Bono a lot of proud. Trent Hilger is going to be someone to watch next year. He could be a guy who challenges Gable within the next few years, I think. So watch for Trent Hilger also. But you have Trent Hilger. He loses to Matt Stencil 3-1, and they both had tough blood round matches. So in their blood round matches, Matt Stencil faced a very tough Mason Parris. And we'll get to Mason Parris in a minute because, well, you know why, what's going to come up. But, Matt Stencil beat him by fall, in the first period. So, I mean, that kind of went the momentum for Matt Stencil. Then he ran into Josef Amita, of course, but that's besides the point. And, Trent Hilger beat a always tough Zach Elam. Zach Elam impressed a lot of people this year. That dude's going to be something special, I think, next year as he keeps going, unless, of course, Austin Myers comes into the lineup. Then they may just redshirt Zach Elam, which I don't think would be a bad thing for Zach Elam. I would honestly prefer that, but I don't think it's going to happen. And we'll find out whenever the season comes around next year. But in this match, for 7th and 8th, Matt Stencil went out on a big note. He grinded it through, and he won 3-1 against Trent Hilger, who's always tough. And so, in this one you have Trent Hilger 7th, Matt Stencil 7th, Trent Hilger 8th. And so let's run through these All-Americans again. First, you got Anthony Cassar, 2nd, Derek White, 3rd, Gable Stevenson, 4th, Jordan Wood, 5th, Amir Desi, 6th, Josef Amita, 7th, Matt Stencil, 8th, Trent Hilger. Most impressive at this weight, as we move on topics, I couldn't think of anyone else besides Anthony Cassar. This dude has fought all year. He was originally a 197-pounder, bulked up, if you haven't seen him, of course, with his bulkness, but he bulked up to heavyweight, ripped guy, and he made the best thing out of a situation he best could, And he's a great story, Jersey boy. I don't think he ever won a national champion. No, he won a state championship his final year as senior, and he won a national championship what could be his final year as a senior. But Anthony Cassar, really impressive all this year. Beat some of the top guys at the weight, and beat Gable twice. Something most people didn't think anything could happen. Everyone thought Gable would be this undefeated monster. He would run. He's the new Kyle Snyder of this weight, run through everyone. But Gable ran Anthony Cassar twice and got beat by him twice. So Anthony Cassar beat Gable Stevenson twice, and that was the most impressive thing of the tournament. Then he just demolished Derek White after he lost to him, I think 3 or 4-1. So I mean, Anthony Cassar proved himself, saying, "Hey, I'm one of these elite heavyweights now. I'm this new generation of heavyweight that is the bulked up, athletic type of guy. So beware. This is what's coming in the future." And great on him. Great performance by Anthony Cassar. Glad to see him win. I think he has a lip tattoo. He did down his lip all the way. I thought I saw a lip tattoo, but I don't know for sure what it was. But that dude's fun to watch wrestle. That dude's a good guy and just fun to watch wrestle. Jersey boy, all that stuff. So, most impressive, Anthony Cassar. Most disappointing, Mason Parris. Okay, let's get into this. Originally, before everything was drawn up, Sam Stoll was going to face Jordan Wood. In an alternate history, maybe Sam Stoll beats Jordan Wood. Well, in this history that we have, Sam Stoll beats Mason Parris 8-5. Okay. So if you don't know, Sam Stoll, again, was really low ranked. So 28th seed versus the 5th seed, and Sam Stoll beats him 8-5. So that drops Mason Parris all the way down the consolation. So he has to go all the way back through. And he almost makes it. He gets all the way to the blood round, but loses 4-1 loses by fall to Matt Stencil. And that ends his season. So, a lot of people thought Mason Parris would be this All-American. Well, he ended up disappointing a lot of people because he wasn't. He had shown great promise throughout the season. Got beaten by Conan Jennings, I think, like 3 times, though. So that was the head scratcher out of all of them. Kind of like with Drew Foster beating Zach Savatsky multiple times. But, Mason Parris should win a lot far. Probably should have been an All-American over guys like a Matt Stencil or Trent Hilger, you could even say. But he wasn't, because it wasn't his day. And, he's the most disappointing heavyweight from this tournament. I could say could not find one other single one that underperformed so lowly like him. And, people may make the argument, oh, Conan Jennings, but did anyone really expect anything out of Conan Jennings? I mean, he did beat him 3 times, but I mean, still, come on. So, most disappointing, Mason Parris. Close All-Americans this year, I'm going to give it to 2 at this weight. 1, because I respect one of them, and 2, because this young man has a bright future. But Sam Stoll, because I respect him for what he did. Sam Stoll made a run, and he took the best out of this run that he had and almost became an All-American. And, it's sad to see not him become an All-American, but, I mean, that's just part of it. Sam Stoll did great, though, in this tournament. He's one of those guys that Even though he did All-American, this run will be remembered for a while, just for the run he had. The other one is Zach Elam. Zach Elam as the 20 seed, that dude was impressive also. So Zach Elam's going to have a bright future ahead of him, I believe. He lost 1 this year on the blood round to Trent Hilger, but he's going to rebound next year. And watch out for him. This kid's special. He really is special. And he's going to make some noise at heavyweight, I believe. He could be the opposition to Gable in the future. Who knows? There's also one more, and this is just because I love his name, but Ian Butterboind. First off, bro, I love that name. You are one of a kind, I can already tell. And I saw you wrestle in the finals against Jordan. Was it Jordan Wood? Yeah, I think it was Jordan Wood. And at the Ivy League Championships. But, that guy impressed me too. He's a good wrestler. And, he lost 13-3 to Amir Desi, but, he showed a lot right there. He gave his heart out and, wrestled the best of his ability. Guys to watch next year, and these are 2 big ones. And these could be guys that define this new heavyweight scene that we see. One's Chase Singletary of Ohio State. The reason I don't know who Chase Singletary is the successor to Kyle Snyder. And some of you will be like, oh, how can you fill Kyle Snyder's shoes? And he did a good job at it. He didn't All-American, of course, but, he did a good job. He's one of those guys that he got beat by Butterboy the round before the blood round, but, Chase Singletary is going to be a threat in the future. This dude is a great wrestler. He gives his heart out in every match. He has such great technique. And as long as he just keeps growing as a wrestler, he could be in the finals also, too, eventually. He's definitely going to be an All-American, I believe, next year, unless something happens, barring injury or, he just doesn't do good at the tournament next year. But, watch out for Chase Singletary next year. And then, guy I've been talking about pretty much this whole video, Zach Elam. Zach Elam is special if you've seen him wrestle. This dude is just a dominating force. He'll go out there, guts to the floor, and just try to dominate you the whole match and do his stuff. He forces people to counter his stuff, his work, his technique, and kind of makes it hard for his opponent to do their technique if you've ever watched him wrestle. I watched him wrestle Derek White, and he made it hard for Derek White. I believe they won the overtime, actually, in the Missouri duel. And that's what impressed me more than anything of him from the year, just doing that to Derek White, who was in the finals this year. But, Zach Elam, he's going to be a threat within the next few years, so keep an eye out for him also. All right, guys, thanks for watching. This has been the Duck Under with Austin Pettigrew, and remember, duck and cover.